Addiction thinks in circles, whereas invention thinks in spirals.
Yes. Yes,
And
yes,
I
yes.
love it. And spiral is not one dot, it's actually one seed becoming bigger and bigger and bigger
Mhm.
and bigger and bigger and bigger.
So I'm grateful for that. And then two, just the pain just reminding me like this body is so amazing.
Where else can you go
Hmm.
other than inside? And
Hmm.
when you're so almost like forced to face yourself, you find lots of love. Just gonna start recording. That used to be a thing with PCs back in the day. Restart every day, shut
Right.
down properly. No more.
Yeah, I will say I do try to quit at my apps because when I'm processing like video content, and this is a nice MacBook. I mean, it's not like the newest model, but it's that you hear the fan start going and I'm like wary of it shutting down on me, so I try to close things out.
Yeah. Nah, not in this case. It's a sweet reminder for me that I have to do what I did not. So I leave it all open for annoyance, for that,
Yeah.
torture. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I forgot. I have to do this. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. Actually, it's a personal organizer, a chaos on the tabs.
Right. I get it. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm a little tired. I'll admit, a little tired.
Good. Me too.
Yeah.
I
Have you been having lots of dreams
Yes,
like me?
yes. In the last 2 weeks,
Yeah, and then like the last 4 days, they've just been relentless.
is it mystical or real? Like with real people?
It's a mix of both.
What's the theme?
Resilience, leadership.
Eh.
Yeah. How about you?
Mine is forgiveness
Oh.
and almost like forgiving, like letting. It's not letting go, rather than it's, oh, you're coming back, and I shall embrace and let go with forgiveness and stuff like that. So it's interesting. There are actually real characters in my life coming back
Mm.
through dreams. And one night, actually, this recently happened. I don't know if I told you, Romeo. So the clock off my wall fell and it slid on the wall. And then it pushed my on the wall, which is above the book stand, and it pushed a bunch of books. And the books just came from the top. And Romeo freaked out. My dog freaked out. I just stood up. I looked at the time to see what time is it, because I knew somebody was there visiting. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom, deal with this tomorrow, and I'll get back to you. And then in the morning, I wake up and I look at the clock, untouched. I thought, the clock will break or the things will just like fall apart. No, untouched. But something was there
Yeah.
to wake me up. And then consequentially after that I had a massive dream of, like I almost think karmic, some sort of coming back.
Hmm.
And I thought that was so interesting. So,
Yeah, the
but yeah,
metaphor of the clock falling.
like clock ticking, time ticking.
Yeah. And it falling and then it's knocking off, pushing these books out. Yeah, it's just interesting.
What's
It's
interesting, I
cool.
did not even freak out. It did not scare me at all. I just knew something is knocking me out of my dream
Yeah.
to let me know something. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. And so like this energy I've noticed is like really showing up, which is typically in dream states for me. if it's difficult or trying or exasperating, then I feel the responding emotion, and that's part of the dream. Like someone's chasing you, you're running away, and you're panicked, like a typical response. Or you're in school and you don't have your clothes, like you're in your boxers or something, um, and you feel like anxiety. But in these recent dreams, I have these um, circumstances that should lead to a responding emotion, and instead I'm like in like recently, I had to like get everyone organized to get some shit done because it was like a world is ending type of thing. It was like, come on, we gotta get together. And then I look down and I'm completely naked. And instead of like panicking or going into my thoughts, I just said in my dream, I'm like, well, you've all seen me naked. It's a little bit awkward. I'll put a towel on so we can get to work so you're not distracted. So I just like wrap a towel around myself. And then I'm just like, you go over there, do this. You over here, we're gonna do this together. And just get right to it. And so I wake up and I think what's happening, typically your dreams are like reflections of your subconscious. So it's almost like my subconscious, or maybe collectively our subconscious, is running ahead and then being like, this is where we're going. I'm just gonna pull you along with these like states or visions or experiences so that you can
Mm,
experience what it means to just have this sense of resilience and like nothing can phase you. Because
mm,
ultimately, when you're centered and in awareness and presence, like truly nothing can phase you.
mm. Yeah. Reminded me yesterday, I was listening to Rupert Sheldrake's presentation in one of the colleges in Britain or somewhere, I don't know, in England. And he was talking about the psychedelics and how the psychedelics are whatever, synthetic, not synthetic. And whoever did all the research, there's 30 years worth of, like testing of all these people coming up to for all type of drugs used to alter the consciousness. And he really placed it nicely to open the door, not only through the dreams and Jungian interpretations of it, and not only through like pushing, opening the consciousness. So he questions this. Let me just reverse it. It was so complex that I couldn't even. He questions this: is the in almost like a innovation or the mind's state that creates these entities that we believe in, or yet
Mm,
dreams that are unreal, but yet, is it something out of product of our mind, or is it the actual reality that we tap into as we have started believing slowly that there's something higher than us, right? So there's this, it's called a hard problem to solve in the science, because one or the other way, the consciousness, it does something, and it does something in the mind rather than in the body. So it's interesting that we're talking about this exact key, because it pushes you back into the body to embody, like to find the different way and different medium to rely on, rather than only relying what your mind's creation is.
mm,
And it made you question. So he is speaking of psychedelics as one of the places. Actually, it's part of the New Age Christianity, and there are a bunch of religious spaces where you go to do ayahuasca for your baptism, and where it's real thing, and it's like slowly spreading just because you touch the ending, which is that birth canal of dying in order to rebirth yourself.
mm,
And it is becoming very accepting to do such rituals where your consciousness just alters, which alters your perception of reality completely and changes your direction in life. So I don't know. It's a big question about what the dreams are. Are they reliable? And how do we actually learn to trust it? But zooming out, it seems like we're really desperately trying to find the way to shift entire ways, all the ways that we have known of
Mm.
collectively, which I thought
Mm.
is so cool. I don't know how
Yeah.
fast it's gonna happen, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting way to look at it. I'm reflecting right now on I've been watching Stefan and how the sun has the coronal hole. And
Mm.
so every time it rotates around towards Earth, it blasts out all this energy. And it's kind of like the way I understand that world of like what is happening geophysically and how our relationship with the sun and that interaction. It's almost like the energy that we're receiving is helping us to transition and progress and move through it. And I notice whenever there's um like that energy from the sun, like we really get hit with it, that's when I have like more dreams. And that's when like the sleep is more disturbed. And then two, there's like the geophysical response of like we have more earthquakes or we have, you know, events all around the world that it's like everything's shifting, everything's moving. And from a like logical or rational point of view, you could say that everything has always been changing, and of course that's true. But as we can get into with 37 here, as we enter the age of Aquarius, this is a big shift. And I found it so interesting how the family system, and how children are at the center of this shift. And I feel like I was like, okay, interesting. We got into the shadow reading it, and I'm like, this reminds me of like Battle of the Sexes, which was one of the first keys.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, this is cool that Malitz and I get to dive into this, and I'm curious to hear your
It's my life,
perspective on it.
life's
And
work,
yeah.
and it's in the sign of Pisces, which I found interesting. So it made me want to code all signs in astrology for all jinkies. So 10 minutes before I
Oh
joined
yeah.
the call, I was like, because we've been talking about through Pisces jinkies a lot. It's like,
Hmm.
there's no way majority is the Piscean way. It will be just too good to be true. So I just got a couple of them that I knew on the top of my head. 22 is a sign of Pisces. 55 is a sign of Pisces. 37 is Pisces. 40 is Pisces.
Mm.
And this is all connected somehow, but I'll go back and remap them all because now I'm just curious to see, is it really the water signs, Pluto in Aquarius, Aquarian age, that are pushing forward these type of states and understanding of these body induced emotional heart related states and getting us out of the mind. I love this key. Love it,
Mm.
love it, love it. Okay, so you go ahead.
Me go ahead.
Start.
Hmm.
Do you have this?
No, I don't. Um, you and Aisha have, she has 30, or no, you have 37 as your life's work. She has 40.
Mm.
So she has the inverse. It's interesting. And then Aubrey Marcus has this. It's his life's work too.
Oh,
We talked about. So, um, yeah, and also like having this be very about Christ, the myth of it and the representation of that evolution was quite interesting, but I'm kind of trying to find a home base to start with the shadow. And of course, we could just talk about like the current age and separation of the sexes and how the feminine, the like the the trendy view now, or I don't know if it's fading out, but it's for women to move up in the world, gain power back, and have their voice, and have equality with pay and have equality with opportunity, and really trying to shine a light on the repression and the how for many decades that women have not been able to participate at the level at which they desire to. And so the pendulum swings. But as he talks about, it's like it's it's swinging too far, as it will do, before it finds
Mhm.
its balance. Do you have any perspective on that?
So yes, and it's interesting. He's actually talking about the Mary Magdalene, and in my cohort for the coaching, all women, third year, we're talking over and over a cohort of 400, 500, 400, 500 women who are coming in with this initiation or invitation to initiate themselves into the world with a full feminine power and to go and blast their powers through coaching, through blast in a matter of like, I almost see it as the push. And it's not only one woman, it's actually many of us pushing, many of us coming into the field where to speak, to release the suppression, to speak out loud, to say no more, I can't. And how I see it is like something larger than understanding is pushing this really deeply to come to the surface. And when and it's showing in the families, which is the marriage, which is the typical relationship structures that are falling. And they fall out of blue, out of left field, no more, and cannot be sustained because, and almost like, and not to blame the feminine as a genderized feminine,
Right.
but we're here talking more about the inner energies that we don't know how to deal with because we were so one-sided and we were so almost like all the way up to this point, we only genderized I am female, and with that I have
Hmm.
this role, and you are a male, and with that we have this role, and our nuclear family and reproduction has to happen. But this is what where we're almost like shifting it, and something inside of us is pushing this understanding, and we're pushing so hard, so hard-headed, so powerfully that it's dividing us even more
Hmm.
because we stand in a total opposition, how I understand this, rather than realizing that these powers live within us. And not to blame, because it's interesting that this is my life work, and I'm not saying I'm the only one speaking like this, but I don't have a family. And I actually don't have a family who I created, nor I have identified myself. Every other month, I say I'm something else. And it's lonely to do it this way, but something inside of me no longer identifies with just the female genitalia or reproductive organs and a womb, right? So, but I can see where that need to popularize it and make it stand out is coming from.
Hmm.
And okay, so I'm kind of going in circles.
No, it's good.
Yesterday, I have spent entire day doing astrological readings, entire day, and I did it for the first time ever, and I couldn't charge for it, and I couldn't charge for it. And here I am coming in, first time, offering a different perspective of thinking that you're not just one thing, you're 40,000 different things. And I brought Jinky book with me, and I brought my favorite astrological book. And I said, you know what? It's not something I can give you as a tarot reading because I don't do the tarot. But you need to take time to want to get deep and ask
Hmm.
questions. And it comes
Hmm.
with asking these questions inside. So Whoever comes in, it's going to come in because it's guided. And interestingly, people passed by, looked at it, were afraid, and many of them came back. And I'm talking all day, Eric. And I actually didn't do my commitment yesterday for the group because I was so drained out. I was giving, 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 and I couldn't take the money back. Everything that I received, I went back right to their stands and I said, "Give me the tarot reading. How much? Here is your money back." I couldn't take it. And what's interesting is that women came, a couple of them came to say, "There's something inside of me, something that speaks, and I need to find it." Half of them I rejected because it was wrong. I don't want to give you the wrong information that you're going to just hold on to because I see you're in need. And when you're
Mhm.
in such a need, you want to hold on to and grab into something. And half of them came and said, "I no longer want to be in this union because
Mhm.
he is driving me crazy. He is one way, I'm a different way." And I'm like, to enter and to say what you need to do, it's going to be against him in this case. It's not what I want to participate in, but rather go out there, find your records in the hospital, and then let's just talk about you. It doesn't matter other people. Let's just talk about all these different energies that you have in you so you get to understand them. You get to know them.
Yeah.
And that's the nurture. And I love this key just for that too. No longer there's an opposition. There is an opposition, but we need to find the way that
Mhm.
we have these same oppositions inside of us, deep
Mhm.
inside of us in our shadows, and we have to dive in.
Mhm.
There's no
Yeah.
way around it. It's like there's nowhere else to go other than one way, which is
Mhm.
towards you and slowly starting to tap into all these different layers within. And I've been freaking preaching about this as if it's the only thing that I know how to talk about. Like, come back to you and let's talk about you. And I can only speak about me. There's nothing else that I can speak and hold as truth because I only know what my truth is. And I need to go dive deep into this wonderland.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't know if that answers your question, but I just went all
Yeah,
over.
beautifully. Yeah. Yeah, there's a tendency for us to want to grasp something external, and it sounds like you're at like a fair or
Hmm.
yeah, so even in the context of spiritually seeking or having like okay, you know, we're in this place where someone's going to give me answers, right? And then you're just like, I'm not here for that. Um, but we can talk about you if you're willing to look, if you're willing to go in and find it. And that
Yeah.
willingness that's really key too, because that's, you and I have been talking about creating a container and how to cultivate the right setting and the right state of mind as we go into it and create it. And I've been learning so much from you since we began this process, but also recently, just in the ideation of this container and what it might be, I'm learning so much more about it's tempting. Something's saying like, don't say truth, because truth can be relative. It can be relative, but it also has its place in like we can say this is a universal truth, meaning your evolution is a matter of your own internal journey, right? That's like a truth. So just to qualify that. But this container, you helped me to see like it doesn't matter the structure. It doesn't matter the topic. It doesn't matter what we charge for it. It doesn't like none of that is really important or vital information for us to figure out. What matters is how can we show up to a space and hold the edges and allow for someone to go within through questioning and through probing and through using deeper texts for contemplation and then allowing space for questions to arise or um, a deeper insight. It's not for someone to come and be like, oh, now I have this gene key system figured out and life makes sense now, carry on. It's like, no, this is going to be unique to each of us that show up in that space. And so I started doing nightly, where I turn my camera on and I just talk. And at first, it came from Carly prompting me and saying like, you should do this with like Facebook, Instagram stories. And I was like, oh, I don't know what about it. Just I have resistance to it. And now, like I'm using my camera, I'm using the mic because it's just easier for me. I know the setup, I know how it works. And then last night I talked for 30 minutes by myself, to myself, and I wound up coming around to, oh yeah, one of the biggest lessons I got from you, Melitza, is to be selfish in our creativity. And this was mirrored, I've been reading ahead in Big Magic. She's there's a quote in there. It's like, um, you know, you know when you know the effects of someone who's doing some creative act to try to help others when you look on the faces of others and you see the like please don't help me like this. She's essentially saying if you're doing a creative act like writing a book and you say like I'm writing a book so I can help others or help the world or help, and then she says you have to imagine the people that are receiving your help. And when you frame creativity in the creation process in that way of like I have something to give you and you're gonna be helped by my information or my experience, it it dilutes the work itself. It changes like the energy and the transmission, and it takes away from the true like reason for the creative process itself, which is it's actually a selfish evolution that's happening. And so in this podcast, you keep bringing us back to, if nothing else, we're here for it, and our own evolution's happening, and this is selfish. This isn't like we can have these visions of a million downloads or a speaking tour, whatever, but it's not rooted in any sense of reality. It's just a fantasy. And what's real is how you and I show up and connect back to our hearts. And that's true
Mhm.
with writing, and with painting, with music, with video production. And so this container, I don't know where I started from, but here I am. But just to bring it back to like ultimately, so no, you don't have a traditional family unit, right? But as he's talking about with this Jinky, family means it implies the collective. I think it's going to grow and expand. And what looks like family now, as he's talking about, the structure is changing and the need with the kids that are coming into the world, but also in how most marriages are failing the children, how there's a need for a broader definition of what family is. And I feel like despite your sense of loneliness in the traditional sense, I feel like you do participate in that energy, in that family that's beyond the definitions. And I have
Mm.
a I've had this vision of like when I think of a community, when I first thought of it, it was like we're all living together, we're sharing resources, etc. And now it's more a hybrid of like individual, but also we understand like we're helping each other, we're here. And ultimately, when you show up in connection with your heart, that naturally will occur. And it doesn't require us living on the same land for it to occur. And I've been trying to tell a good friend of mine who's trying to build uh like a new age community, and I'm telling her like, do you see like you're here now? Do you see you're at our house and we're hanging out with your kids and we're doing it. Like this is it. And so it's to refocus the energy and look at where we're at and the evolution that's currently happening. And that's what's most important is where we are, the container we're in, how connected with the heart we are,
Mm,
and being present in that because we often, it's tempting to envision a future in which all our problems are solved, but
mm,
that's not real. Our problems will never be truly solved. At least I don't think
mm.
in my
We'll
lifetime.
always come up with new.
Yeah. That was a big loop.
I love it. I love it. And okay, so let me tell you a story.
Hmm.
And I think it will tie nicely back into when giving with the heart versus giving with your mind, asking something in return versus actually not asking anything in return, rather than being paid in gifts that are absolutely not material.
Hmm.
And just got get chills when I think about this. It's like it almost makes you humble. So yesterday, the reason why I wanted to I have to kind of collect myself back. It was such a humble thing to go and almost like go at the beginning of hustle, and it reminded me over and over again when people started from poor, having
Yeah.
nothing, yet collected the plastic on the streets, collected the wildflowers and sold it on the market. It was very much that. And people that came were very different people that I am surrounded with. And I'm not saying on a different financial level. That financial level makes us so detached from one another that we actually cannot understand what it feels to have humble beginnings. And Tim
Mm.
Ferriss is notorious for this. Freaking love him for putting himself back so he can
Mm.
actually remember what it felt like, and rather than being so ignorant about it. And ignorance really is not humbling.
Hmm.
What makes you humble heart opens up where you simply cannot, you can't, there's almost like no barrier to enter with the humble heart to give with no return. I returned the money back. Eric, it was not the right thing to do. I couldn't get over it. And I'm like, no, no. And I wrote 30 for 30. And it's almost like there was this woman who came. Okay, there is this woman who came questioning everything. And she actually came to debate. And what I find is like lately, I have been getting these testers, and they're aggressive testers. They
Mm.
will crucify me, they will light me on fire. And I find it interesting because I am reacting to it differently. And this happened this last 2 weeks. Almost every time I went with the heart and I said, wait, we need to unite. Okay, like forget about left field tantra and this lineage tantra and this religion, Islam, Muslim, Christian. And I am here to fight for this. So this happened in my cohort. This happened at work. This happened in a freaking LA on just a queer based fair. And I found it so interesting because when extreme grip on something as your own truth that you have to push forward and almost pound upon everybody
Mm.
often comes out when people really want to stand for something. And when you stand for something, you almost don't see the others' ways, the other people's ways. When you stand for something so strong, it's a brick wall around you. And, like a lot of people stand for something, but they stand like this for something rather than
Mm.
actually, oh, it's just another data point. Oh, it's just another, it's not just astrology or human design or Enneagram or the Jinkies. It's just another data point. And you don't have to just be like, this is the only thing. But how often are we actually claiming something as that all for everybody truth? And this is so extreme. It pushes us so apart. So I find this interesting because it's happening a lot. And that feminine versus masculine side, it's like, I have to stand for something. As if you are, something kind of comes in through you to push you through it so you can pull the, I don't know, the people around you, your environment. You, if somebody has a loud voice like that, it actually affects the environment that they're in. You have direct impact on people that you talk about to and around that you're moving around. So I come in and I say, wait, but we're forgetting. You're now hating your teacher. Just as example, you're hating your teacher, and you're claiming she's wrong in everything she's doing. How dare she? But you're forgetting that she taught you something. And I'm like, but we keep doing this again and again and again for
Hmm.
centuries and millennia, pointing at fingers rather than learning how to unite in love. Because she's doing what she knows how to do the best. And this is her time to do just that. Can't you accept it? So that's one scene. So every time I have been coming as this united global, we're all the same type of thinking, there always comes the villain that comes and taps me directly in my eyes. And yesterday was one of them too. And I was like, wow, so this energy is so tempting to engage with, but I can see my evolution through learning how to not engage rather than accept it. Can I actually love you even more? Though I can see your chart and I can see where you're self sabotaging so much internally, I can see. But also, by me seeing in your chart, I also can just gift you love no matter what.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Hmm.
matter if you don't want to know what's wrong or right, but you actually came here to tell me that I'm wrong in everything. And I
Hmm.
sent you back with your money and I sent you back with love. To me, that was so humbling. And friend of mine was like, this was terrible. Like you should have had taken her money. And I was like, I had no heart to do it because she actually needs it more than I do. And to come back down to such humbleness and to speak to people directly, looking in their eyes, there's no rush. We're not rushing. But in this no rush, the room that you're talking about, it's like the 30 minutes of someone listening to what you have to say. There must be some sort of, this is not Eric who's talking. There must be some sort of understanding that we're all here doing exactly that, pushing to evolve to a different way of loving one another and embracing in tenderness for it. And
Hmm.
that is not explained with the words. You can talk my ear out unless I feel that you're in it. I can't listen. This is why, coming back to the AI, the first video you sent me, and I was like, but where is Eric? I'm desperately seeking you. You're
Hmm.
so good and good looking, but I need you. And for those people who are able to attune into each other's energies, this is the energy of the heart that speaks. It almost leaves you speechless. You want no pay for it. You want
Hmm.
everything to be just freedom based and expression based and almost like liberation of tit for
Yeah.
tat.
Yeah. Yeah.
My word means something and I cost $30 an hour. It's like, it killed me. This is why I can't charge for coaching at all. And I have in the world and the system that we live in that we have to pay the bills. I'm like, well, there must be the other way around. It's like, these things, these connections, yeah, I get it. We need to charge for it, but let's park that and let's figure out if there is any other way of
Hmm.
doing this without holding on the materialistic return and ROI.
Hmm. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. Ultimately, I think the base energy is like service, right? And someone I spoke to just through business stuff, he was like, no matter what or where or how or when or who, always come back to serve who's in front of you as best you can. And I think one of the paradoxes in this gene key is that sometimes the best service we can give to another is when we are focused on ourselves, is when we're selfish about our own evolution, when we're selfish about our own inquiry. And I think the way to dissolve the energy of tension and like I'm the villain or playing devil's advocate or trying to find where you're mistaken and you're at fault. As if you just show up and you just enter a contemplation and say, yeah, I don't think I have this figured out. Let me think about that. Or let me dwell on this. Like you're bringing up a lot for me. Do you mind if I just sit with this and feel what's coming up? And then all of a sudden you're looking in. And if you're truly looking in, there's no longer anything that they're bouncing off of you because it's that the tension in the relationship and that exchange. And so you go in with it and all of a sudden you're just absorbing it and there's nothing reflected back to them. I think that's part of it too. And you're showing that also in the financial exchange. Like, okay, I'm just here to serve however that looks, and I'm not going to be taking, right? Have you read Charles Hoskinson? He, 4 or 5 years ago, he wrote a book kind of outlining a new economic model, which wasn't based on this
Okay.
monetary exchange and a more free society, a more open system, which I'm skeptical of for for a number of reasons. But ultimately, when I think about the system of money, I think about how it's just a representation of energy. And you think about abundance, meaning like I have all the money, but abundance is so much more than just money. And in fact, there's plenty of rich people that are not abundant. They have they have plenty of money, but they don't have the feeling and the sense of expansion and time and space and connection with their heart. So, yeah.
Yeah. And this is, I think, where this inner force is coming in a form of feminine as we know of it. But rather than the space inside, now when I feel secure with if you have money, or when I understand now that there's no tiger to eat me alive, I will be fine. Masculine, protective energy, right? So almost like this space inside is growing as an empty, and we're almost deprived of this feeling of inner can't even say inner wisdom. By the time we get there, it's going to be what, who knows how long, but inner richness, inner richness. It's like the we're deprived of feeling inner connection, but inner connection that feels fulfilling. You know, I laughed about this because I had a short that I watched the other day, and I was like, oh, when you are, and I was exchanging with one of the friends, and we go, you know, when you feel envy as a, it almost actually replicates the space inside of you that it's empty. And then the same space is mirrored in someone else who is fulfilling it.
Hmm.
And you're envy because you know you can do this, but you're not.
Hmm.
So you envy that person who has it, but it's only recognition that you have the same exact thing to do. So when you have a person who is filled inside and you are filled inside, you become in awe of someone who is full of themselves.
Hmm.
In a right way of saying it, completed and rich inside of themselves. So you become in awe. There's no more envy. Envy only happens when you are empty and that person is full of the same exact quality of richness inside. And what a trick for the mind.
Yeah. I
It's,
love that description. It's beautiful.
yeah. And this is where the separation comes in. Oh, and then the whole psychological, you know, like warfare inside of us and building the blocks and layers and resistances. It's like, rather than, you know, there's so much here to discover.
Mm.
And where do you start? And I say you start from the heart,
Yeah.
humble, tender heart, because heart has a really good qualities. Yeah, and I talked about this over and over again. It loves. It only knows how to love. Heart does not know how to hate other living creature. Not that I'm aware.
Yeah. Yeah. And hmm, yeah, that the reflection is that's huge. And I think that's so it's you just take where you're at and you think about what is happening inside. Because we often, I mean, who who goes about their day and only is like, oh, this is happening to me or this is happening for me. It's the delineation, right? Like something inside is occurring that's being reflected in my external reality. And it takes some time to trust that that's a, a an aspect of the truth of this human experience, meaning that as much as things appear external, they are happening internally. They're happening within. And the ability to settle into that awareness and be able to be introspective, just it changes everything. And like you said, like, okay, today's feeling is one of envy. And it's so funny too, like me getting into the world of being a business YouTuber, business creator, and I am I do have clients and I am charging them money and I have so it's like I'm in this world, right? And then when I go and do research or I'm just on YouTube, I'm getting suggested these highly like on the scale outrageously outperforming successful entrepreneurs. And it just occurred to me. I'm like, well, no wonder even with clients after a short period of time starting, even with like my system's rolling, I feel like I'm evolving. I feel like what I'm creating is really cool and I feel like I have something to give and I'm here in service and all of these good things. And then I just flush it all away when I see in my feed like, oh, this is what success is. And the bar is way up
Mm.
here and I'm way down here. And there's a big gap. I don't know how I'm going to reach it. But ultimately, I know from watching all these videos that I have to get above that bar before I can call myself successful.
Mm.
Meanwhile, in my reflection, I I've heard from these people that their bar is up here. It's always higher because we associate and we tend to reach for what's naturally above us because we think that more is going to lead to a richer, more valuable experience and we'll reaching more people and having more money and having more success and more fame and that is speaking of masculine archetypes, like this is a very masculine trait to want to constantly strive for more. But speaking of external, internal, I had to reframe it because I'm like, I used to play small and now I'm playing in the game. Now I'm on the field and I'm participating. And there's a part of that that's helping me evolve. And there's the internal evolution, but there's also external metrics that are happening and finding a way to detach from the attachments themselves. Like, okay, it doesn't matter the followers. It doesn't matter how many people I'm helping. It doesn't matter how many views I get on YouTube. None of that matters.
Hmm.
Right now, it's my conversation with Melitza, and that's it. And it's just like, it's just coming back to that constantly over
Present.
and over and over again. Who's right in front of you? And if no one's right in front of you, then you're with yourself. And what does that mean?
Mm.
How deep can we go? And I think
So good.
ultimately, this is a model of abundance, and this is a model of what's talked about in this gene key. And in my mind, like this is what of a like a great family system looks like is one in which we just have presence
And you just completed.
Yeah.
That was you know what's interesting, and I love the trials. Oh my God. This is also, I think, how you learn to be humble with yourself because you're trying. Everybody's trying really hard to get to certain level.
Hmm.
You know that story of getting up the mountain and everybody's coming down and you're going up there. You're like, I wanna, that's where I wanna go. And everybody's so, how was it? How was it? And they're like, you'll see. There's nothing out there. Oh, we'll see or nothing. And you come out there and all you do is just you see 360,
Hmm.
which is literally just, and then you come down. But you have to go through these trials. We have to try in order to know exactly that. And I think these trials are representations of what matters and what actually fulfills. So as you were talking, I was also parallel thinking, it's like, gosh, did I try a lot of things?
Hmm.
And I went wholeheartedly there. I
And,
actually went and
and still are. I'm just gonna add that in. You're still constantly trying new things and evolving and
constantly. And I'm like, I want to give my whole heart to see, is this where my heart wants to go? Because I don't know.
hmm
I think I know that, having do you know how many times I sit here on my chair and I literally, Eric, no joke, in this place, I am like, is this real? Like, am I really where I am right now? And I am confused on how am I where I am right now? And what is actually all of this giving to me? So all of this that I have is for something much deeper. And is that deep depth of me coming to the surface? Is it something new? So when I ask myself, do I feel rich inside, regardless of the environment that I'm in? And am I fulfilling my richness of the heart and soul? And it comes back often in that nudge. Oh, all day I just sat and thought. All day I sat and I just read. All day I sat and I discovered and I researched and I did it and I almost like spend it with me to find the richness of, ooh, I didn't know I can draw and sketch. Ooh, I didn't know I can actually write a poems. Ooh, I didn't know this part of me. So these nudges kept coming back that are my cues. And here's another thing. My external environment, when I tap into this richness, which I still don't know what is it, by the way, everything synchronizes. And this is what I notice is like, wow, when I'm going out there to charge, there's no synchronicity. Actually,
resistance. Yeah.
I am getting tested.
Hmm.
And when I am tapping into the richness, it's actually synchronizing slowly around my environment. So I can see the synchronicities. I go to the gym, something happens. It's a cue. It's a cue. It's a breadcrumb. And it is fascinating. It's like, I never know, am I on the right path? And I never actually doubt it, but yet crumbs just show up. And I find the amount of synchronicities that are coming in out of that richness, inner richness discovery is much, it's a lot. It's almost like telling me this is where you are to go. And when I head out there, because I know better, because I know your answers and how to find your answers, and I start doing it for just for return, test after test after test after test. So question for you, how do you have this system of check, self-check to keep you accountable rather than someone else keeping you accountable through money? I will pay you because I believe, a good example is like, I will pay you a large sum of money for the school of 2 years, but I will turn against you because I no longer believe that this is the right thing to do. And it fucking happens all the time
Yeah.
in front of my eyes. I mean, I can't believe that you're paying for something and your heart is still empty. Yet
Mm.
if you're paying for a program or a space, or if you are willing to give your money on a donation base, whatever that it is, better do it for your heart richness. And I will want to pay for a space where I find my heart and my own richness.
Yes, yes, yes. beautiful.
So how do you have that check-in system? And I know we're way outside the 37, but I think this comes nicely to speak about these different parts within that are not
Hmm.
just feminine and masculine, yin and yang, that there's so much more to it, where your entire aura changes once you start like finding this richness inside.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So do I have checks to bring me back to like the purpose? Is that kind of the question?
Can you recognize your self-check system that brings you back to the heart of
Hmm.
everything that you're doing?
Well, there's there's nothing like definitive in place right now, but I will say that in the process of becoming and trying to relate to another, I'm learning where my temptations to be short or be transactional or be frustrated come in and where I'm like, ah, this is an opportunity now for me to go back to heart. And so I've been using this and I'm trying to get you to like hop on my mind wave bandwagon because this is such a shift for me. But maybe you've been in it for long enough that it's just like rote, like it's just how you operate on a day-to-day basis. But it's just the the shift of saying selfishly, why am I here? And so for an example, I was in the process of getting a client. So I'm on calls with them. This is like the third call. We got really deep. We got into it. It was going really well. The exchange was happening, and I was able to remove myself more and more. So, like the first call, I was kind of in my ego a little bit. The second call, still a little bit in my ego. And so there's like, I'm noticing resistance here, but I'm just letting those things go. I'm like, okay, I'm learning as like a coach or just a facilitator of the space. And by the third call, I'm like, this was beautiful. Like I was didn't feel like I was present. You know what I mean? Like it started and then it ended. And I'm like, whoa, that was 2 hours. That was awesome. And then I get a message and it's so ultimately what I'm helping people get to is clarity about their mission, their big why, and then how we can bring that into reality. And so in a sense, I'm like cultivating other people's creativity, which
Hmm.
feels so good for me. Like it's such a rush and to be able to get paid, to be able to be paid for it is like, it's one of those things where I'm like,
This
this
is
is
real.
amazing. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
how, like, this all of a sudden, you know, my understanding
I
of
love it.
the marketplace and what skills I can get paid for was very left brain for a long period of time. And now this is so much deeper. And like, it's pretty regular where I'll get to a point of tears when I'm working with a client because I'm like, it's just to be able to see you connect to your heart again in this process
It's
and then
touching.
and bring it into the world. Like ultimately, how can I help you bring your mission to the world and
Mm.
help change things? Um, so that's the underlying piece. But of course, my ego steps in above that and it gets in the way and I get in my own way. And so what happened with this potential client is they came back to me after we had found clarity, connected with the mission, and it was like firing on all cylinders. There was a day or two of kind of like just a gap. And I was very uncomfortable in that gap because
Mm.
I'm leaving the call feeling like how we feel after Gene Keys. And it feels good to like just do text updates, like, how are you feeling after the call? Or like, is anything coming up for you? Like, just this normal sort of thing. And that wasn't happening. I wasn't getting any response. And then 2 days after, I get a message back and it's like resistance. And I'm like talking to Carly about it. And I'm like, man, this is, they're in their own way. Like they're just in their own way. and I don't know how to help them in this. She's like, yeah, it sounds like they're in their own way. And then I just sat with it and I reflected on what you and I are creating. And for some reason, like what you and I do came up as a good example. And I said, okay, this too, how can I serve in this space? Because my ego and my desire wants to lock it in. It wants to take each point that they gave me, each problem, and solve it immediately and point them in the right direction, get them back on track because I want to help them.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's not going to help them. Like, if they're in their own way, me solving it isn't going to do anything. So instead, I said, okay, the best way I can serve this person is to give them space. And I just gave quick points just to remind them, like, no, it's not that. Like, this is what I laid out, just one sentence. And then I said, but if you're not ready, you're not ready. And that's okay. And then I just gave a lot of space. And what ended up happening is they found their way back to their own sense of clarity. And it wasn't because I was telling them to, it wasn't because of what I said. And ultimately, I'm like, good. Now you have your own foundation that doesn't require me to set it for you. Because we know how that feels in coaching, where you're having to get someone to like a baseline of stability and they don't have it in themselves. It's so taxing. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, good. You found that. And ultimately, I was able to serve by stepping back and stepping out. And did that answer your question? No, in a sense, like I'm learning this along the way. I didn't know to do that. It just came to me and I found it in the process.
That's exactly it. The question is like your trials. You can
Yeah.
only learn once you try. And then this is why I wrote a couple weeks ago about the mutual therapy. There's
Mm,
no more I'm your coach, I know better. I went
right.
to school and have PhD and 7 courses behind it and 3 master's degrees. And you're just a poor little thing that is just at the beginning of the stage. And I was there 20 years ago. So by default, I know much better. Follow me, I'm your mentor. It's like there's nothing I can say about this. Just my face speaks it all. At this point, I no longer will say anything about it. But I wrote a story about having the mutuality in healing when in such space.
Yeah.
And yes, you happen to want to pay me for it. But indeed the roles can reverse and
Mhm.
I will need you for something else in the future that you know much better. And I think it's all about recognizing these strengths, which in corporate world no longer exist. We're all focusing on weaknesses and how we can pin against one another, which is why I think the structure is crumbling. Simply, it's by default you're entering into toxicity of the environment where you're pinned against another, and
Mhm.
it's just real, but we're at the edges of it. So when zoomed out, you can see that it's almost like unsustainable, and that you need to talk to another human as a human being who is equally, by the way, sharing the time and the space and
Yeah.
collective and the traumas and everything. And it's just exchange that
Hmm.
is healing. So yeah, I'm not no longer going to tell you what you need to do because coaches, that's a coach trap.
Yeah.
Fixing things right away and instantaneously. You will see instantaneously. I don't need to be fixed. By default, entire system shuts down and you no longer can actually help one another. But when you give them the space to enter,
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
they get to themselves ask a question, we're really, I think, left with either silence in the space and willingness, presence, and just if 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 even needed to ask the question. And if I ask the right question for you enough to nudge you into the depth of self-discovery, then to me I did good service.
Hmm.
But if that question is, you really don't think you should do the AI, it's almost like your answer has to be AI related or something
Yeah. Yeah.
so directive, then you're not asking the right questions, and the right questions are open space
Very open.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that, and that we don't know, nobody teaches this. It does not come in a form of book or a program. That's why I think it's total self-discovery of where do you feel you served well, so good that you can go to bed and sleep and say, hey, this was a good day. And though I wasn't paid or compensated how much the system is telling me I should be for my 1 hour, will I regret this? And when I'm in my deathbed.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think ultimately regret happens when we're disconnected because it's like it doesn't matter on your deathbed, you're not concerned about how your life was lived monetarily speaking. Like whether you had the mansion or a small hut or you were roughing it in a tent. It's like we all lived the human life, but if you're disconnected, then your life is probably full of regret.
Yeah, and that is so we're almost on a deathbed every night,
Right.
metaphorically.
Yeah.
Can you go to bed with your own self,
Right.
knowing that you built your happiness on someone else's misery?
Hmm.
What is your happiness?
Hmm. Great questions.
Can you build it on someone else's problems? Sure, that they're actively seeking to be solved, but are you actually able to solve them? Be true to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the reflections that I had with this recent client is like, or I should say, I came to this point of realization of where I said, if they can't find their own compelling why, like their big why, then I won't work with them. And just me deciding to,
That's
because it's like, oh, I'll take your money and I'll guide you on this journey that you think you're supposed to do. But like if you're not connected, then the work is never going to feel fulfilling to me. It's going to feel very transactional and I'm going to feel like something's missing. And I think I have to blame you for that because I know when because I know when I'm not in connection. I know what that feels like. And it just feels soulless and empty.
mm,
And I would
mm,
rather have those rich moments. And it's like if like you can pay me for like this is your desired outcome. But if all we get done is just a deeper connection with your heart and the process of creating opens you up, then I've done my work. Like on paper you might be disappointed, but I can tell that there's a change happening. And I think that happens like you mentioned the trap of coaching. And it's like that I have answers that you seek, right?
mm,
And I think that there's something to be said about leadership through humility,
mm,
which means, and that's what you've been doing, which is like I'm showing up and I'm so appreciative of you and what you've brought to this space and how I've been able to deepen into my heart and how I've been able to recognize these moments like as me trying to coach you where I get stuck and where my mind takes over and where I'm disconnected. Allergies?
yeah. I was like, when is he gonna stop talking about this? Stop, stop, stop. It's irritating my eyes.
Yeah. This topic is irritating.
Ah, and I think, this is the equality on a human heart level. We're all here doing the same thing. And you know what pulls me out? There's one I know I actually highlighted it in the gift of equality. What pulls me out is that imagine if you're doing this. You know how we are all into instant gratification now? Like you want a quick fix because you're so desperate. This is where you mentioned emotional eating, and Queen Carly
Mhm.
made a clear distinction that I'm sharing. when emotional eating comes like this out of freaking blue and you become hungry, it's like, something is inside of you that you're not aware because it gets 0 to 100 right away versus slowly getting normally biologically hungry, which takes phases. It takes a while.
Hmm.
So the takes a while way of healthy, it takes a while. It takes time. It's almost like humility is taking time to talk to someone, to connect to someone from the heart level. Heart loves time, loves to take its sweet time, though the time and space doesn't exist. But it almost like, like even when you enter into the intimacy with someone, it's slow thread, almost as if it wants to take that juicy apple and slowly bite it, which invites you to the present. And because it takes time, it invites you to be present. The shrinks the time, and 2 hours no longer exist, which is a freaking like paradox of it all. So in the world where we are so rapidly fast being pushed to grow, I cannot, and it's almost like the whole of me if is literally going against the grain and saying down slow down when you talk to someone,
Yeah.
be there, look into their eyes. The lady, there was one lady that came, stopped by the booth yesterday, and she looked into my eyes, and I saw her somewhere. And I think she was my first teacher in a first grade back school. Same exact, this part was exactly the same. But she was looking at me as if she's like, I don't know how to market myself. I do the sound bath.
Hmm.
And I'm not good in networking. I'm not good in marketing. By default, she's not making money because she's not good in either one of or. And then I started talking to her and I was like, you know what? If you're doing it alone, you might not even make it. But if you're doing it with someone else, group together, then that's a different story. Then we both go. And we have to, this is where that equality comes in to say, not only internal battles, I'm no longer just the feminine, I am the masculine as well. I want these two to join hands into it together. So when I look at you, yes, I can, be supportive of your success and supportive of your success. But eventually, as a human that has an ego that will not die until we die, you're going to become envy, or you're going to be missing out. If I am here doing my service to you as a feminine shadow, as I'm servicing the masculine to go there in patriarchal world and rule the world, we have to actually hold one another no matter what. And we have to figure out the way, and to figure out the way how I'm going to turn around and say, hey, I took 3 steps and you're still behind it. Come on over. Come on over. Freaking come back. Because I'm going to wait. I'm choosing. And this is where I don't have to. I choose. This is where the love even transcends to I don't need you anymore as a feminine. I am very well on my own. However, I choose you. I choose to be with you. Doesn't matter. I see much more than just the social structure, the finances, and all the inheritance that you have behind it. I choose to be with you, and there's something. So I'm going to grab your hand and I'm going to pull you back, you and I walk the same direction until we do shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip.
Hmm.
I got you. And to me, that is very humble to do that for someone in need, but someone you are able to recognize. And if I'm just there dating you or entering in a partnership with you just because I don't know, you know something better, or you have, 10,000 followers and I only have 3, how do we bring that equality, right? So where does this equality comes from? I can't expect it from you. I have to practice giving it. I have to practice it within me and see where that takes me.
Hmm. So true. Hmm.
And I love this. And it says, when we begin to build a civilization, and let me give you this as a seed. When we begin to build a civilization based around the view of an incarnating child, we will create a truly magical world. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this. Is our work from the heart actually for instant gratification or for something in the future? So is the product or a service you are creating or giving now 15 years from now, actually?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is this more of a rhetorical, metaphorical question or a literal question?
Both, actually.
Mm,
So if I, so I'm sitting here, so you're learning trials. I'm learning trials. I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying. But in meantime, I'm developing something inside of me. And if this is what I develop right now for the sake of the children coming in 15, 20 years from now,
hmm
do you in your heart want to teach children? And here it says civilization based around the view of incarnating child, the one that is to come, is our service from the heart for the sake of parents now in your neighborhood or for the sake of children that are yet to enter into the world. And if I'm sending the message 15 years from now, will it be ROI based or will it be heart based?
Hmm. Yeah. These are these are deep questions that, it's like just putting the seed in. I think it will evolve in its own way, and like the tree that comes out of it will grow. My own awareness of where it's at. But I would say, in a literal sense, like, okay, I'm helping you bring connection to your heart and creativity and and finding a way to create that connects you, makes you feel like you can do it. Ultimately, to be to create something and be a creator is to be human. We forgot that aspect along the way. And for most of us, we passively consume and then we wait for someone else to do something. This is this is the majority. So in helping the world access more creativity, they're accessing more of what it means to be human and they're accessing more of their heart. And it's like I think of I keep getting this like image of the blossoming flower. And there's like it's the Fibonacci. So my work in the center and then it goes out and it goes out infinitely far. And so like me opening your heart is another flower and then that's happening over here and then so in a sense, of course, that's my hope. I can't control it, but I think the more of us that are connected to our hearts, the more beautiful world that the children can step into. And then beyond that, on an intentional aspect, like with my kids, I have a lot of time to think about what they need and what would be helpful for them and where we can like access different resources or elements or designing the environment to help them grow and nurture their spirit and their soul and their physical bodies and all of that. And I feel like intentionally speaking, I feel like that system is already changing. I mean, there's new ways of doing schooling. There's this system called Alpha School, which is way more play-based. There's still like 2 hours of block learning, but they allow for um, like the woman who I think she's leading it. She spoke on Chris Williamson's podcast, and she said if you were to step into the school during like the learning block, you might see one of the students, and they all kind of learn from a laptop, and that way they're at their own pace. So like you could have two students at the same age, and one could be learning algebra, and the others just weren't learning basic multiplication. And it's not to say that they're ahead and that they're behind, and then try to bring them all to we're learning the same thing. You better fall back and you better step up. It's just like this is just where you're at. And ultimately, that will lead you into different roles in society or different ways in which you contribute. And she said, you might walk in and see a student like laying with their feet up on the wall, like on the couch upside down, and then doing the laptop upside down. She's like, but he's shown that he can get his work done in that setting and however he wants to put his body. And so he's earned that trust. And it's like, it's just that. It's like, it's just having the awareness to say, maybe it's not for all of us to be in 30 desks and chairs that all look the same and you can't lay on the ground and you can't it's just it's just I think the world that we step into and that these children will require, as he's talking about, is one in which the system has to evolve and be more open because their their needs won't fit the current system and it will break the system. So I'm
Mm,
so curious, we tend to diagnose kids these days, and I'm sure some of it is based in reality, like medical fact, but there's like ADD, ADHD, all of these psychological disorders. And there's a new evolution happening of like, what does it mean to be neurodivergent? Like, let's use a different label for it, and that there's a spectrum, and that we're all on the spectrum. And in this sense, it just points to that there's different needs for kids, and we're not all meant to be learning the same way. And so all of a sudden, the system breaks because these kids, and I think what's going to happen is there's more ADD, more ADHD, potentially more autism. And
mm.
we could look at it negatively, or we could look at it like, okay, let's change the system because this is the way the world is now. So, yeah, you got me on the rant there.
But what you're pointing out is that it is changing. And
It
it is
is
changing
changing.
actually. And this, he's talking about this key 37 being as a part of the collective rather than just individuation. So a collective is changing. And it's almost like there's no more separation any longer. It's boiling out of us in every single, permeates in every single aspect in the system that we live in. No longer does it apply. We're trying now. My question to this is when you try to change the way that you rebel against because it's rebelling and cooking inside of you, how do you find the integrity in what you're doing? Right. So, how do we, and we can't ensure that all is going to be good. We have to kind of have both sides of the coin, right? So, it's, like teaching children, teaching. So, and you will see the system coming in and slapping transphobia again, on children just expressing themselves the way they want to express, right? So, and it's such a topic. Heavily topic, but you see when there's a drama, such a big drama about the trying, and it's suppressed immediately as bang, wrong. The schooling, bang, wrong. Psychedelics, bang, wrong. It's like almost like you feel the last, I like to think that it's the last test
Mm,
or last trial of trying so aggressively to suppress something that it's coming out anyway.
mm,
And you can suppress the identification through words and say, don't you dare to say it. And all the restrooms should be male and female, example. But really, what's happening later on, that child will grow out and grow up to say and rebel anyway, no matter what you say and say, like, for example, you to me are a very good representation of the masculine energy that lives with a lot of feminine inside. And you are not shy at all. So if you, as a masculine figure, has three males as a children, you're giving the example of, you're actually almost like giving the different opposing example.
hmm
Your wife is very alpha and it's predominantly masculine energy in the world showing off with the feminine body, and you're the complete opposite. So this is where your children are going to soak up the differences that are almost like it's a good example to, if you ask me, to have that such a merge within. But to you to stay in your integrity of it, you have to own both. And I can't just deny the other just because system tells me to deny the other. I am going to, no matter what, accept both, that I am equally emotional as I am tough when the time comes, that I show up with crying and I'm trying to suppress it because I'm not supposed to cry. But yeah, it is true that it happens. And I love that this is already happening on a collective level. And as much as we try to suppress it and define it and deny it, it is not no longer working. So 15 years from now, if I am to create a workshop or a space, and I'll just give you the example of what you and I are trying to do, which I thought about it too. And I was like, we actually don't know what we're trying to do. But what it takes for it to be done 15 years from now, it takes these trials.
Yeah.
And I would rather fail at the beginning,
Hmm.
and I rather make it harder in the beginning and actually own the shame about it and all the failure of, oh my God, nobody's showing up. And the agony of, oh my God, I'm wrong, self-worth, self-sabotage. I rather own it in the beginning for the sake of 15 years from now, having something so solid that people are actually welcomed. That the baseline that everything is built on is the heart. I
Yeah.
can't help but not to have the heart back and see if my heart is in this, it will last. As this podcast of this thing of ours is lasting already 2 years. So there is some true in it,
Yeah.
but I'm willing to try to fail it. And when we are willing to try to innovate something new that we don't know of, it's easier to do it together, which is why I think we actually need one another
Hmm.
rather than doing it alone, because doing it alone and failing alone is very different from failing together and having, a freaking, I don't know, champagne to celebrate the failure together, the beach laughing at it. Let's try it again and again. Actually, doing this together is easier. And this is why I think we now need more one another to do it together than back in the day. Because back in the day, we didn't try to change anything. It was very comfortable to
Hmm.
do it alone. But now we know we will fail before we actually succeed. So we need each other on a collective level. We can't do this alone.
Hmm. Yeah. And it helps so much to have a partner in trying because, like you said, like, okay, I can see now I've been stepping forward and you're 3 steps behind me. I pull you up if you're willing to grab my hand. And then all of a sudden, like, I pull you up and now you're 3 steps ahead of me. Somehow you got ahead. Can you pull me up now? Like, it's just
Yeah.
like this. And we're helping each other up the mountain to see nothing at the top, but it's a process.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
such a cool process. And I think this is the new family. And it's not based on the recreation and reproduction and roles. It's actually, we are creating it as we speak,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? But what in that creation, what will make you die every night before you go to dreams and be in integrity to you, knowing that, this was good? That's where the big question is. Like, if I'm to continue building any type of family that I don't know and that is in Australia and New Zealand, and, like, do I feel this is my space? I have to fail, but do I feel I succeeded with the richness inside of me every
Hmm.
night?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good reflection question to go to bed with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on this and see how you feel. The city is all about the sexuality. And he says, we, humanity, are the lamb, and the universal spirit holds us in tenderness as a mother cradles her child. As individuals, we each have to bow our heads and accept the devil within us instead of pushing it down deeper into our psyche. The very thing that terrifies us the most will utterly transform us if we can but trust it. It is the source of our sexuality, the dark feminine shadow place within every human being that contains the greatest mystery of who we are and what we can one day become. And
Mm.
a gateway to this is whatever trigger comes up for you, and then just creating space around that where normally you don't have any. So emotional eating is a good example. The desire for, oh, I need food, I need to get a snack, I need to have a treat, something sweet, something salty, something crunchy. And then being like, okay, this isn't hunger, Eric, you silly. So just sit, like, what's happening here? And I'm learning, like, this is a process. But what I'm finding is is touching the void. And that void is, it's uncomfortable. And that's what I'm trying to fill, trying to fill the void with something. And an easy example is food, but another one is sex. Another one is numbing distractions. But what I'm finding too is like, okay, in reawakening this part of myself of like space, like creating space, being present, not just with someone else, but also with my own body, my own feelings, is also what's happening is this desire now. And was it last podcast or two ago that I talked about my journey into this Gnostic white Tantra tradition? And
Mhm.
I'm like itching to go back to that now. And I'm finding that um, making love now is shifting again. It's becoming like I'm able to slow down and become more present. And I think it's like I'm touching the void and not running from it or not escaping it or not feeling it or not trying to avoid it. I'm just looking at it. And in doing so, my own experience, my own experience of the sexual energy within myself feels like that blossoming, it's coming up. And I'm like, oh, let me facilitate more of this. And I find when I now have this desire to not release through orgasm, I think it's because I'm cultivating more of this desire to be in this space, just the
Mm.
space and the energy. And it's profound. And I'm just trying to be present in the journey of finding that within myself. But I am curious because this is a deep work for you, a deep, I mean, you go deep every week, right? You do like hours and hours and hours of practice in this space and touching what he calls the dark feminine. What does it bring up for you?
You know, the Trinity,
Hmm.
in the name of the God, the Son, and the Spirit. And what's interesting in the, okay, speaking of the gift, right? I'm sorry, the tenderness, the CD of tenderness. In the Orthodox Christianity, which I am born into not to be so like, like s- concrete about it, it's just the cultural Christianity, Orthodoxy. We
Hmm.
have this Holy Trinity and the way we put the three fingers together and then we make a cross. The
Mm.
name of the Father, the God, the Son, the man, and the Spirit. And then, right, so it's almost like you make your cross and you thank the God. What I found interesting is that to this day I do this, not knowing. Oh my God, thank you. But the Holy Trinity now, in this way, made a different. I actually gained a different perspective when it comes to this CD, and I'll say why. And he explains it as the Father, the man, the God, the man, which is also in my way of thinking of the separation, and then the united spirit that unites both. And you almost, how I see this done in the sexuality, especially if you are aware of these energies that are playing when in union with someone, and that can be any energy. And I'm talking energy, I'm not talking body, vulva,
Hmm.
genitalia. I'm talking any energy. When you are focused on that body in front of you, you're out of your heart. Your entire focus is actually outwardly. And in a masculinity, it is showing because it's shown as an expression, outward expression, outburst expression, right? So you can't help it. It's biological expression.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's why the man is closed here. But in a female, when the female body comes in the intimacy, and I'm only talking now body to body, it's almost inward expression. So it actually starts from the heart, which we
Mm-hmm.
compensate down for the genitalia so that we can meet you there. And it's really quick and fiery, and you enjoy the feminine doesn't half of the time. So what is happening now with this collective shift and feminine coming in and saying, slow down, where you're going, what's the rush? Again, it's patient and it's
Mm-hmm.
slow, and which actually opens up the flower to bloom slowly. It does take time. It actually requires the slowness in it. But the slowness is coming back present. Slow makes you want to be present. And the presence that you have the moment you come back into your heart, into yourself, is the presence that starts creating this merging of the energies that it's different.
Mm-hmm.
So suddenly, if your focus is not on the other and you somehow know what your role is, and I'm not talking top and bottom, I'm talking merging of these energies when you know how to obey to what is happening. Almost, I
Mm-hmm.
hate the word worship because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
misused in a man worshiping the wife, but we know of it as I'm just going to come and kneel on my knees and give you everything that you need. No, no, not
Yeah.
that way. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking energetic
Mm-hmm.
merge. And once you start allowing this energy slowly to find its way through it, I find I find in me these play inside of me as well. The
Mm-hmm.
surrender, nurture, taking care of is very feminine quality inside. And then when you know you need to action, protect, make it safe environment for it, it's very masculine.
Mm-hmm.
So both of these are inside of us. And somehow, without talking, when you surrender to feeling this inside, the other starts slowly dancing with you too. Something out of mind and out of actual understanding with closed eyes completely. And by the way, I don't think this is all coincidental. With closed mouth, closed eyes, yet it's total silence. All our senses are actually totally detached from us, and all you have is just this energy inside of you. And when you start learning about this, this is where the Holy Spirit, in my speaking of the Holy Trinity and sexuality in this case, only it's metaphorical. I'm talking, not literal. But this is where this energy and merging of energies comes as a completely different entity that awakens both of you. So, whatever your need is on a spiritual level at that point, which is either to surrender or to protect, becomes very almost like very raw in its own expression, and you're able to feel it. You just know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
but it requires to slow down. It requires to be present within you and tune into someone else's energy. And it's not that you as a masculine, in order to protect the feminine, are coming in to tune into her energy. No, you're opening her up to show you what she needs so you can tune in. It doesn't come with, I need this from you. No, you actually have to sit and wait at the door to open so that you can feel it. And this to me is the Trinity. This to me comes with total union and emergence from it. It's very, yeah, I'm talking like I know what I'm doing, but this is what I'm experiencing every time I'm in an intimate connection with someone who takes, where, you know, time, time, patience, and tenderness comes in to show you who, your truth. It comes in to show you who you are in such intimate, raw, vulnerable moments.
Mm-hmm.
And Esther Perel, I always come back to say the same things. Like, and Esther even questions the partnerships. She's not really, because she's so public, she's not really, she's experimenting with starting and building the relationship from those moments of intimacy and vulnerability that happened for you to self-discover yourself. Oh my God, like to actually call the God in a moment of,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and gasp for air to breathe because some part of you dies when you are merging with another in that spirit. Just got chills.
Mm.
So I don't know if that answers your
Yes.
sexuality questions. I think it's much more than that. It's
Yeah, it's
the
deeper, but yeah.
merge to emerge.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. I want to just note something. It's beautiful that you're able now to come back to what you loved, then hated, and then to see it differently.
Right.
White
Yeah, see the
Tantra.
teaching, how I went through the teaching and then I came out and was like, yeah, I had this perspective initially, like it's a cult, they're leading people astray, like all these people that are in it are stuck. It's like I separate. But we almost need to like hate our teachers so that we can create space and then find our way to some idea of truth. Maybe that's what's happening.
Well, if that all it takes, then as teachers, get ready to get
Yeah.
crucified and go.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, speaking of, yeah, you mentioned or in Orthodox this doing this sign, and I've
mm,
heard, I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard if you think metaphorically, maybe it was Matthias. It sounds like something Matthias would say, that when
mm.
you're crossing your heart, you're disconnecting because you're going brain to heart, and then you're disconnecting. You're cutting it.
Oh
And
wow,
so he said they developed that as part of orthodoxy to disconnect people's hearts from their minds. But anyway,
interesting.
yeah. But breath is he says here in the city, in the future, family will no longer be an isolated tribal phenomenon, but a collective breath pattern that unites all human beings. This is the future that is coming.
Mm.
It's the same vision that Christ held as the natural state of humanity in what he referred to as the kingdom of heaven. And it's really cool to think of the evolution that we're going to as just a breath pattern of like, this is,
Rather than a polyamory where you have five parents and everybody who comes in is expected to parent your child, it's like you just multiplied the same exact role. Are you out of your mind?
yeah, yeah, it's not, yeah. And
But
two,
this is
just
what's
like,
happening.
well,
I'm gonna
just like,
divorce. I'm gonna find another. Sorry, this
no,
is
it's
where I
fine.
get like all heated up. I'm gonna divorce. I'm gonna find another person who will accept my childhood. Oh, my children, my entire family, plus my husband and his wife and everything. It's like and play a role that your husband
Hmm.
played a role. It's like what? No, that's not this. This is different.
Yeah, it's probably fragmenting the same issue. Just you're splitting it and dividing.
If not multiplying
No,
it.
it's dividing, yeah. It's making it smaller. So,
Yeah.
um, but I just a caveat to that. It's just this, it's similar to our own process of finding what works. Like we make mistakes. We're going into it collectively, making
Agreed.
mistakes, swinging the pendulum so we can find our way. But the breath pattern, I found this, I don't know if I dreamt this or this actually happened and I just forgot the exact circumstances. But someone, I don't know if it was like coaching. I feel like there was multiple people in this space. Anyway, the point is they were fleshing out some details of the story they were creating and then unpacking where they're at. And you could feel this like rising, rising, rising action, culmination. And then it was like tension, and they held this tension at the top. And in that moment, I just saw the tension and I went, at the same time they exhaled. And then it was just like, like it all, like they just let go of it.
Hmm.
And I was like, wow, like all all I had to do in humility was just breathe. And it took seeing and then feeling what they're feeling and then being like, this is a big breath. Like this is a big exhale. Let's do it together. And to think of maybe this is what the children will bring to us is this sense of reconnecting to our natural state, this breath pattern, this slowing down. The Schumann resonance is slow. And why is Schumann like blasting us lately? Because it's
Yeah.
like you think you can push at these high frequencies and just go, 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 go all day long. You're gonna learn that Mother Earth is stronger.
Mm-hmm.
You're connected and you can't run from it. And
Mm.
it's like almost like I'm gonna bring you down. I've been bringing you down slowly for a long period of time. It's gonna start ramping up. Um,
Yeah.
but I think with the children, what I've noticed with the kids recently is they'll just, like said, they'll just say some shit where I'm like, I'll just look at Carly and be like, we haven't been talking about that, right? Like they've been bringing up death. Just
Wow.
my 5-year-old and my 4-year-old. Um, and I'm sure if my 2-year-old could talk, he'd be talking about it too. But um, like my 4-year-old
Mm,
will just be like, it doesn't matter because they're gonna die soon anyway. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah. And it's just so matter of fact. And I think
mm,
I think it's like because we're open as parents that they can express like channel and whatever's coming through. But I think this is gonna happen more and more is like this connection with deeper truths and they're just gonna say it. And in Dune, my favorite book series, there's a character who awakens in the womb. Essentially what happens is like the mom has to take a large dose of mushrooms, an equivalent in the book, and the child like awakens to a consciousness and they gain like all of these memories and experiences in the womb. And then this child has to grow into that body with like an ancient mind. It's
mm,
almost like the veil we come into the world is removed. And as like a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old in the book, she would speak like an adult, like a very ancient adult, and just shock people. And I'm like, I think this is I think in my experience, I think this is what he's talking about of like the children will require a new system,
mm.
is they're going to be speaking from ancient wisdom and connection, and we're going to be, for most people, it's going to just
Shocked.
rock them, like something's wrong with my child, I need to fix them.
Mm,
Unfortunately, like there will be some of that, but then there will be some of us who are like, okay, how can we bring this out? How can we share it? How can we cultivate awareness around what you're bringing forth? So
mhm.
I'm
But
excited, and yeah, there's definitely moments of like it just sends you into when a child tells you something, whether it's true or not, that makes you reflect and say, yeah, we all are dying soon. But then he'll say something very specific too. Like
they're also like what?
my 4-year-old, he said one day, he said, well, dad and I are gonna die, and then I think he said like we're gonna die in 6 years or something. Or mom and I are gonna die in 6 years. And I'm just like, buddy, like, can you tell me more? Like, who's telling you this? And it, we limit largely like what their inputs are. They're not
Mm,
getting media that's discussing death openly, and they're not exposed to that. It's totally got to be just like a transmission that's happening that they're tapping into collectively. And when he says this stuff, I'm just like, okay, yes, like this life is transient, it's impermanent, and it reminds you, like you said, we die every night. And I'm like, these kids are reminding me to live present, to be present, because, you know, what if they come out with millions of prophecies about the end times or about how it's not permanent, or about how like, oh, well, we could die tomorrow depending on how things go. And it's just
mm,
like, okay, let go of our attachments that are keeping us small, that our hearts are not open, and step into this relationship right in front of you, whether that's the mirror or the other.
mm. It's interesting that they're also in the age where they're almost like having a straw that fits from the universe. They're
Hmm.
sipping on the universal wisdom all the way up to 7. So I heard psychologically. I don't know if
Yeah.
this is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they stare at the ceiling and they see something that, it's not nothing.
Yeah.
It's very much something. But it can also be interpreted as in a form of symbolic metaphorical thinking. So if something like that comes in and it flushes you with fear, when a child mentions that you're going to die together in 6 years, so specific, and then there's must, to me, when I heard it, it almost like it flushed me with, that's all it may be. It's
Yeah.
almost like a reminder, that you're absolutely right. It's almost, like rem remind you that much of this gripping in life is based on that exact fact that we're afraid to die, and we're afraid to die. So coming back to Rupert Sheldrake's psychedelics, is almost like the synthetic way of pushing taking the fast train to see yourself dying in order to get back into the
Mm.
birth, the life, and then it changes your entire perspective for the rest of your life, which is near death experiences as well. And it's almost like it shrinks you to nothing. So it cycles back that the ending is the beginning, that the death is the birth. And symbolically, we can just, do the philosophical way of thinking where it's infinity and everything is living, gonna be forever when it comes to the soul or whatever. Just imagine, or kind of live in that magical world of illusion and be really delusional when it comes to it. We don't know the fact, but the fact of the matter is that we are going to not be here sooner or later, and we are not facing it. We don't know how to, because it's scary, it's terrifying, and it's interesting that they're bringing this up nonchalant
Mm. Yeah.
as a
I'm grateful.
menu.
I'm grateful.
It's interesting. I love it.
Mhm.
Well,
So that being said, if you do want to come live in a community in Hawaii, let me know.
and play a role. What will my role be?
No, no, it won't be assigned to you.
This was really cool. 2 hours, and we're done with 37. Yay!
Yeah, we've
And
had some
also,
good momentum lately. What were you gonna
I
say?
know, I wanted to say, I think it would be really cool if we can redefine the description. And I'll just send you a text about it that I thought this morning, because
Not AI anymore.
yeah, because it's all the same. So when I'm looking for something specific, I think
Yeah.
it pulls up based on that description. And I think it would be really cool to redefine them. And I'll see if I can kind of grab the summary of all of it and then kind of do a little bit of verbiage adjustment to it. Because maybe people don't know about, Jinky in general, but yet we're talking details about the equality, which is different definition here. So,
Yeah. Yeah, the majority of feedback I get is, oh, I don't really know Gene Keys, but it's fun to hear you guys talk about whatever.
mm.
So yeah, it would be, and your writing is so good. So why not?
Practice. Okay. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. See you
See you
next week.
later. Ciao.